Hey there, this is Ann Westerheim from Icaro, and we're super happy to have you here. We're going to talk about tax scams today, and I've got Linda Hansen with me.
Hello. Good
Linda's
afternoon, everybody.
Linda's our director of operations. So, a big goal of our workshops is we want to help people get more from the technology that you already have, introduce you to new technologies that you need to know about, and also reduce risk for your business. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, some various cyber scams, how you can spot them, and hopefully avoid them in the future. So here we go.
Yeah, and this is absolutely interactive. So if you have any questions, there's a little box at the top of your screen. You can ask questions. We'll address them along the way, or we'll get to them at the end. Either way, but feel free to speak up.
All right. And with that, so I'm Ann Westerheim, the founder of Icaro. We've been working with local small businesses for well over 20 years at this point. So I'm a lifelong technology enthusiast, wrote the book Cybersecurity for Main Street, and I'm super proud to say our team recently achieved the Global Technology Industry Association Cybersecurity Trust Mark. We went through a lengthy audit process, and we're super excited. That's just a couple of weeks ago that we achieved that, so very excited. And Linda and I are both really active on LinkedIn, so please connect with us there as well.
Absolutely.
So the thing we're going to talk about today is tax scams. So cyber criminals, scammers love to hijack the news. So around the holidays, there's a lot of shopping scams. There's travel scams in the summer. There's all different kinds of things that come up during the year, and now it's tax season, so the scammers are going all out. And the IRS just recently reported, just a couple of weeks ago, reported on the IRS Dirty Dozen. So these are the top scams for this year. Every year, the list, it's kind of similar, but something else pops up to the top spot. And really, our philosophy in terms of cybersecurity awareness training, which is an important part of any cybersecurity program, the more you know about the various types of scams, the safer you're going to be online. So 'tis the season. Now it's all going to be tax scams. So the thing that's behind this is cybercrime is really big business. So the cyber criminals are just going to figure out really inventive ways, basically to get at your money. A lot of small businesses say, hey, I'm not a target. Major companies, when they experience cyber events, they're going to hit the national news, and smaller companies are not. And Lynn, I'm wondering if my video just disappeared for you, because
it did not, but you froze on me.
Okay. Hopefully it will come back. Okay. The joys of technology. But so cybercrime is big business, and I may switch my camera in a moment. Let's see if it lets me do the other one here. Okay, I'm going to look at this camera now. So criminals are out for ways to find money. So anyone with money is a target of cybercrime, a potential target of cybercrime, and they're just going to come up with really clever ways of tricking you. And if you look at this, the extent of cybercrime, it's the equivalent of the world's third largest economy. So right behind the United States and China is cybercrime. A little later in the presentation, I'm going to go into a bit of what is behind all that. But right now, I want to dive right into the IRS, the Dirty Dozen, the top 2026 scams that are out there. And some of them you're going to see as familiar, and some of them might be new to you. All right, so number one on the list is IRS impersonation by email, and that could be by text. Email is phishing, text would be smishing, and voice would be vishing. So they play around with those. But here's a little example of an email that you may get. So folks are stressed right now. Maybe you're going to owe money. Maybe you owe money from the past. Whatever it is, cyber criminals are just going to jump into this conversation. So you may get an email. You have a pending tax issue, immediate action needed. And just rest assured, the IRS doesn't initiate contact like that. They're not going to initiate contact to you with a phone call. Typically, you would get a letter first, but you're not going to be contacted this way. So in the age of AI, the logos are going to look good. The grammar is going to look good, but just be alert. It doesn't cost anything for cyber criminals to send out 1 million email messages. And if they send out 1 million and they get a few clicks, every click is potential money for them. So watch out for those. Another thing is AI-enabled IRS impersonation by phone. So again, there's AI voice generators. So you might get a phone call that the IRS does not make threatening phone calls, by the way. They do want your money, but they're going to play by the rules, and they don't issue threatening phone calls. AI-generated voices in this day and age, you're going to have a voice that sounds very convincing. They can pick and choose male or female, what age. They're going to be tough to spot. They can also fake the caller ID. That's illegal, but criminals don't really follow by the rules. So with the whole, yeah. So, be on the lookout for that. And it can sound very convincing. And that's the thing for folks to know with today's modern technology, it's not going to sound choppy. It's not going to be in a foreign accent you have trouble understanding. It's going to seem legit. And the caller ID may very well be fake. So just, if you say, well, the caller ID says it's the IRS, don't believe that. That's trivial for the criminals to fake. So theme and variations on a lot of stuff that we do in cybersecurity awareness training all the time. All right, next up is fake charities. And this pops up during this time of year. Folks are looking for deductions. It is a commendable thing if you are donating to legit charities. That's a great thing. But watch out for donation requests that are coming from fake charities. And that tends to hijack news. When there's a major catastrophe, there will be fake sites for the Red Cross, fake sites for earthquake relief, California fire relief. You can actually cross-check a charity with the IRS to check if it actually is a legit charity. So again, watch out for that. Another one, misleading tax advice on social media. And I'm just going to see real quick if my other camera is going to behave. Oh, and it does. It's easier for me to look at the screen. So if you're getting your tax advice from Facebook or TikTok, that's not a smart strategy. And there's a lot of folks out there, they might have some really convincing things. You're going to get a large refund. You can write off personal expenses as business expenses. No, you can't. There's no secret loopholes out there. Watch out. Just beware. I think people know this, but yet you look at what % of the population actually gets all their news from social media. It's a little bit scary. But old adage: if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And there might be some things that fit for very specific circumstances, but they are not a fit for your circumstance. So again, watch out for that one. Okay, identity theft involving IRS online account access. So you may get a phishing email come in, voice phishing, text phishing, whatever it is, some alarmist thing. But keep in mind, you also have to protect your credentials of where you can log in to the IRS. So if somebody gets your Social Security number, and through no fault of your own, your information may be involved in another breach. We run dark web scans for folks to just show what's out there. LinkedIn gets breached maybe like every 2 years. Capital One's been breached not too long ago. So if anybody you work with has been breached, your information might be out there, and through no fault of your own, but it's out there. And once it's out there, it never goes away. They can't erase it. They can't delete it. They can't take it back. So you need to watch out for somebody else potentially logging into your account, because they could redirect bank information. A lot of folks will advise file early because it makes it less likely that somebody else could file in your name. We always recommend using password managers for strong and unique passwords for every site. Do not use the same password at your bank. What criminals do is a technique called credential stuffing, because a lot of people use the same passwords in multiple locations. So if, again, Capital One is breached and you use that password for the IRS, within minutes, there'll be another account as well. So really safeguard that information, strong, unique passwords, multi-factor authentication. All right, this one gets a little more technical, but abusive, undistributed long-term capital gains claims. And I think the general advice on this one, if somebody comes up with a scheme or says you can reduce your taxes with something, and you couldn't explain it back to them what it actually is, that's probably also a sign that there's something shifty here. But they see a lot of this, and the IRS is out detecting for these kinds of things. Bogus self-employment tax credits. There's ads out there, and I'm going to get to this later, but there's a lot of fake ads on Facebook, for example. So you might see like, oh, I've got this new angle, or here's this company that's going to help me do this. They have a special tax credit. The IRS is going to look closely at this. Again, there's no easy wins. You know, we work. We've got to pay our fair share of tax. There's no secret loophole. And again, it's a case where you need to make sure that you totally understand what it is. Another one, this was a new phrase for me, ghost preparers, but the concept is going to kind of a shady tax professional who's not going to sign the tax return for you. They should, if they're a CPA, they should be signing the tax return. They have an identification number with the IRS. And again, you might see ads online for this. And I think video might be going away again. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm going to shift to the. All right, I'm going to shift to the other camera. Not sure. Right. Love technology, but that's why I have two cameras, so I'm always ready. So again, watch out for this. It's a major red flag if a tax preparer is not going to sign the tax return with you. Keep an eye out for that. And it made the IRS the dirty dozen, the top 12 scams out there.
That one was new to me too.
Yeah, another one out there is non-cash charitable contribution schemes. Again, a lot of this you might not come up with this on your own, but you might get an email or you hear about, somebody posts on Facebook that they were able to get these giant deductions. Again, that's going to raise a red flag. If you actually are donating valuable items, you can do that and get a tax deduction, but it has to be properly documented. The value has to be supported. You'd have to be able to pass an audit with that. Again, there's no quick moves here. Overstating withholding schemes, another, again, makes the top 12, but reporting incorrect income amounts. So the IRS, they're going to get a copy from your employer of what you made. Those numbers do have to match. Claiming withholdings for things that didn't actually happen. Again, there's folks out there, they're just trying to scam you for your money. Anyone who has money is a potential target for this. So just watch out again for like a new strategy on reducing your taxes. Spear phishing and malware campaigns targeting businesses, tax professionals. This is just basic cybersecurity hygiene. We typically recommend for email security because 90% of cyber incidents start with an email. There's other avenues of attack, vulnerabilities. We talked about smishing and phishing as well. But typically the way this works is you'll be tricked into logging into an account. And the difference between phishing and spear phishing is targeted. So, for example, your information, which is could be generally publicly available because it's out on the web. Maybe you have a Facebook page, it talks about what your hobbies are, whatever. It's kind of easy especially with AI tools, to scrape all that information and come up with a very targeted email that's it makes it sound more legitimate, more trustworthy. But just remember that could be pieced together with information that's out there. You might have your profile on your web page, and they can figure out who works who works in your company, who works with who's in finance. It's basically just designed to trick you to log in. So when we put together an email security plan for folks, typically we'll recommend is gateway security. So that's basically if an email comes in with a malicious attachment, something that contains a virus, it will get blocked. We also do impersonation protection. So we'll analyze the intent of an email that might have no malicious attachment to it, but it might be asking you to do something unusual or something that just seems like a scam, like directing you to log in somewhere. And that's impersonation protection. Or if I get an email, from Linda, hey, can you change my direct deposit information? We're going to vet that carefully, and that would be flagged. Another really important thing on email is what's known as, it gets technical, ITDR, but it's incident threat and response, identity threat and response. So what that is if somebody does get into your email, and we had a case like this not too long ago, somebody busy working, a QR code popped up, they needed to log back into Microsoft, so they followed that login, they logged in again. That was actually a phishing attempt. They harvested their Microsoft credentials. The user was just, trying to work efficiently, work fast, just figure, okay, I'm being prompted for my password. Looks like maybe this site is extra secure. It wants me to log in. That's probably, that seems like a good sign. Anyway, hackers got in. The good news is because we have incident response on the site for this particular client, that was stopped in minutes, and they weren't able to access any emails, any documents, and weren't able to set up any rules. So that's really important, because if you do give up your credentials by mistake, you kind of have no way of knowing that somebody's in your account. So that's sort of where the comprehensive email comes into place. The other thing is to have backups on the email, of course. A lot of people just think, oh, well, it's with Microsoft, I don't need to back that up. All cloud applications do need to be backed up. So this is just something we're seeing increasing. We've seen and stopped about 3 of these attacks just in the last 2 months. Really, it's kind of a scary thing, but it is possible for somebody to actually get into an email account. So really talk to your team about this. All right, and then there's aggressive or misleading offers and compromise. So OIC, so it's OIC mills. So that's where they churn these out. They send out 1 million emails. They have a promise that you could settle with the IRS. Now, offer and compromise is an actual thing that the IRS will offer. So if you're in a situation where you can't pay your entire tax bill, the IRS will actually negotiate. They want to get as much as you can pay. So it is a legit service that they offer, but there are scammers out there who are going to try to sell you some big story like, hey, we'll cut your tax bill in half. And you're going to wind up you're going to lose money, and you're still going to owe the IRS after it. So anybody who charges high upfront fees, or they make like an offer that's like so ridiculously attractive, it's probably too good to be true. Again, these are coming in via ads online. They're coming in via email. Just be on the lookout for it, and have conversations with your team, with your family. Make sure the people around you understand what's going on. If you just know the names of the top 12 tax scams, you're far less likely to fall for any of them. So that's something worth having a conversation about. All right, so what do all the scams have in common? So there's always a sense of urgency. Act now or face consequences. It'll be very stern. The authority, it's going to pretend to be from the IRS or trusted professional. The graphics that the criminals can use now, they're not like these spam messages that you got 10 years ago. They're a lot harder to spot. There'll be some sort of opportunity. It's almost funny, Linda, to look at old ones from years past, because you almost laugh at them, like, who would have fell for this? But they are very smart, competent people fall for these scams. It's not because they don't have knowledge. They're working, they're busy, and then they wind up with a problem.
Yeah, take time to slow down, about it before you act, because is there an actual urgency? Is this an actual authority? What really is, they do try to poke confusion and get you to go, oh my God, I need to do something. And that's,
Yeah, and we've seen it's tax season now. We're talking about tax scams, but we had somebody in our community call in once they got this ridiculously large Verizon wireless bill. And they have teenagers, and they immediately just got really angry, thinking, okay, one of the what are they doing? They're abusing their rights to the cell phone. So he immediately logged in, and it was a phishing test, but it was designed to tap into that emotion. So that's what they're preying upon. And then the confusing, like you're busy. You might be, you're trying to go through 100 emails, and you see one, and it's like, okay, I'll just take care of this issue right now. So, and I am going to try my other camera again to see if it will come, and it came back. It's just easier to look here because I could see Linda too on here. But so what, Linda? Yeah, slow down. If there's a sense of urgency, the scammers are trying to tap in. They understand psychology. They're trying to tap into that emotion. Don't click first. So you can go directly to the official websites. Now, I will put in a word of caution that don't Google your point of contact. Like, let's say you're going to, this happened to somebody else in the community. They Googled Bank of America customer support, came up with a phone number. They dialed that phone number. They wound up with an absolute disaster. Criminals, it's illegal, but criminals take out fake ads. And in Google, it just shows up as sponsored content. So it looks like, oh, this is the top result. So that must be legit. Doesn't have to be legit. Verify requests. So yeah, when I get the impersonated email from Linda, like, hey, can you change my withholdings or this or that? Like, no, we're going to have a conversation. Train your team. We recommend to every local business we work with that we set up a cybersecurity awareness training system. Insurance companies are now asking for proof, like show me the training reports that people actually went through training. To qualify for insurance, you're going to have to start doing that. And, if you ever, hopefully you never have to file a claim, but if you do, and they come back and say, well, okay, now show me the training reports, and you can't, and you realize like, hey, nobody actually trained. Well, they're not going to cover that claim. So really make sure your team is engaging in this. Make sure you're having conversations about this. Make sure you have a culture where people will speak up. That was another one another business email compromise we stopped very recently because the user thought something was off. They accidentally logged into something and thought, wait a second, I think I might have moved a little too quickly. But because they called in, it was immediately checked, and again, no damage was done. But if there's a culture where people either A, aren't aware, or B, feel like, oh, I better not say anything because I might get in trouble, and everything looks fine. A hacker could be in your email right now, reading everything, doing whatever they want. You wouldn't know unless you have a sense, like a detection on there to say so. So, and then call if you work with Ikaru, call your IT professional. Ask a colleague. One thing I would ask though is not to forward these emails around, because sometimes we've seen that happen. Somebody gets something, it's a total phishing email, and they forward it around to everybody in the company like, hey, is this email legit? And then you got 5 other people who click on it. So
right.
Most people they don't fall for scams because they're careless. They're busy. There's a lot going on.
Yep.
So I did want to talk a little bit about what you're up against, because a lot, like we talk to local businesses every single day, and something we hear a lot is, oh, well, we're not a target. It's like, well, everybody, if scammers can send out 1 million emails, somebody's going to click on it and they've got a payday. And so what are you actually up against? So one thing I want to point out, this news came out this very recently, like at the end of the past year. Facebook made $14 billion on fraudulent ads. So that's criminals putting ads on Facebook, and they might be like, hey, tax relief, or consult with us for new deductions, or whatever it is. They made $14 billion on scam ads. And if you kind of like read between the lines, they're not that motivated to give up $14 billion in revenue. It's estimated they show 15 billion scam ads a day. And it's kind of hard to get banned from Facebook. So they have automated systems. Again, they're not going to risk that 14 billion in revenue. So there's a very high bar for trying to prove that someone is actually committing fraudulent acts on Facebook. And there's recently a court case about another aspect of social media and the addictive behavior. So that just came out this week. But social media has really pervaded our lives, and we need to just be aware that there are a lot of fraudulent ads out there. And they send millions of messages. Facebook ignores most of them. And there was one article, and I thought this one was kind of, I don't know, interesting. You know, the old 3 strikes you're out. It's 32 strikes and you're out at Facebook if you're committing a crime. So that's what you're up against. Okay, so again, perfect English, perfect grammar, great looking graphics. Just beware. And yeah, they've been in the news for failing to suspend them. Another thing recently, we do a lot of research at Ikaru. We're attending conferences, we attend various events, so because we're constantly learning about what's new in technology, cybersecurity. And this was a recent workshop I attended with one of our technology partners, Huntress Labs, which is something we use for persistent threat detection. Think of it like a motion detector on your computer systems. So this is a guy, and he's covered with a face mask. John Hammond is a cybersecurity researcher with Huntress Labs. The other fellow is covered with a face mask to protect himself because he's kind of what you call a reverse hacker. And what he does, and this is fascinating, when the fraudulent thing comes up on his page, is that, hey, click here for Microsoft support. Most people know, don't click on it. He actually intentionally clicks on it so he can establish a connection with the scammers, and then he reverses back into their networks. And these are actually images from CCTV cameras within scam compounds overseas of basically sophisticated looking call centers of people calling in, basically attacking people all over the world. And, you know, they've got nice computer setups. They run like really, it's a business. Again, 3rd largest economy in the world. There's a lot of money. They have CRM systems.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they have.
That's what.
So CRM, customer relationship management systems. They have systems that are more sophisticated than a lot of businesses we work with have. So in this case, they're showing. These are the different people that they've called. That's all redacted. They're trying to, you know, a couple of them just hung up, but, you know, somebody talked to them and said they're not interested. One of them made a deposit. They fell for the scam, and they're tracking this, and then they know who to go. You know, once somebody does one deposit, they're highly likely to do it again, and they're tracking all this. They're running like this is big business. And that's what we're up against. It's not some random hacker in some basement somewhere. This is organized crime. Another piece of it I want to mention is that a lot of these folks, some of them run scam compounds that have a legit business and a scam business in one. So if they're ever raided, they can show the legit business. Some of them are actual scam compounds where there's human trafficked people. Erin West of Operation Shamrock, she's a former prosecutor in the state of California. She's done a tremendous job of exposing these centers around the world, because some of these folks who are committing the crimes against us are doing so unwillingly. They wind up with a false offer of a good job in tech. They go to another country to work. Their travel documents are confiscated. They wind up with no money, so they're basically indentured servants. They're stuck there. They're beaten. If you go to Operation Shamrock, she actually has interviewed some people where they've actually shut down the compounds, and they had a person who worked there who actually showed them where there was blood on the wall. So these are folks. It's organized crime. It's just a horrible thing, and there's folks like Aaron West who are working to expose that. But a lot of people will think, well, why? Nobody's after me. I run a small business in, Chelmsford, Westford, Littleton, Boston, wherever. No one's after me. These organized crime groups are, and it's a numbers game. Million emails go out, they get a couple of clicks, they got the payday. Romance scams, the whole concept of pig butchering. These folks are actually there on the other end of that. And just to make life more complicated, there are a lot of scams around fraud recovery. So folks who do fall victim to a scam might go, I need help. I need help overcoming this. And on the Operation Shamrock website, there's actually a warning out there saying that they do not provide recovery services or endorse any company that does, because now that they've gained some visibility in the cyber community, in the scam fighting community, their name is out there. There's folks who are taking out fake ads on them to help, which is really terrible, to double jeopardize the victims. And as another note, anything that involves going to a Bitcoin ATM is a scam. So I was just in Boston this past weekend, and so I was in a convenience store, and there's a Bitcoin ATM sitting right there. Like, kind of nothing good happens there. And even all over the world, there was a report from New Zealand saying like 90% of the transactions are somebody getting scammed, and they won't shut them down. So if anything in the conversation says that, go to a Bitcoin ATM, stop.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah. And I don't want it all to be gloom and doom, because the whole thing is that once you know that, then you're not going to fall for that scam, because you're going to be aware, you're going to pause, you're going to stop. Wait a second. They asked me to go get Bitcoin. This does not add up. And I want to point out AI, to quote another movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, AI changes everything. The graphics on phishing emails are going to be fantastic. You're not going to be able to spot the fake ad from the real ad on Facebook. Perfect grammar. The other, in that workshop with Huntress Labs, our tech partner, Huntress Labs, this fellow went on to show another scam that he had worked on where so again, he's the one who answers all the scams. He clicks on the pop-up to establish that connection. So then he got on the phone with one of these scammers, and he was like asking some probing, like suspicious questions. So then he said, hey, so then the scammer said, well, let's just jump on a Zoom call right now. And it's really funny because he showed the video clip of like, hey, like, see, this is real. Like, here, here's my eyeglass case. But then the guy asked him, oh, can you just hold 3 fingers up in front of your face? The guy wouldn't do it. Like, hey, man, that's like way too much to ask. But, look at this notebook I had. Or that was in front of my face. But because you can't fake, if you have a face presented on a fake video, right? They can substitute the face, but you can't put a hand in front of it and have an emotion in front of it. So it was a really clever thing, but he was toying with the guy, and so that's a little check that you can do. And it's kind of neat, the work that he's done to figure that out. But and the guy kept trying to get out of it, like, hey, that's way too much to ask. It's like, but you'll pick up any other object around you and hold it at arm's length. Anyway, again, it's not about doom and gloom. It's about empowering everybody in our community. If somebody just rapidly offers, well, let's just get on a Zoom call like right now and we'll take care of it. Just be aware that there's fake video technology, and some of it is really, really good. There's voice transformers. So somebody from any part of the world could sound like they're from the United States. The IRS has done a good job. They have right on their website, they've streamlined how you can report fraud. So you can just go right there to say report fraud, and there's also a lot of really good resources there. The other thing is the FBI has something called the Internet Crime Complaint Center, the IC3. File a complaint there. And the reports I've read is they're actually remarkably successful in recouping wire transfers if you catch it quickly enough.
That's
so
awesome.
They have a pretty high success rate for that, but it's got to be done very quickly. So if you do, don't be ashamed, speak up, call the local police, but you can report a crime to the FBI. They'll coordinate resources behind the scenes. They'll work with the local police, and the IRS has a lot of good resources. A couple of other links that I have up there, and I can email to folks who want. This just shows the title of the link, but I can email these to you. You can get the full report from the IRS. Every year they publish the Dirty Dozen around March of, kind of what moved up the list, what moved down the list for scams. You can search for tax-exempt organizations. So if you question somebody, you can search via the IRS site. They have advice on choosing a tax professional, so you wind up with a legit certified public accountant and not somebody who's going to ghost file your taxes. Reporting fraud. Microsoft has a really great threat intelligence report on threat actors leveraging tax season. So they're just going to go whatever is on people's minds, whatever is consuming them, the criminals go after that. And don't be victim to a ghost tax return preparer. So a couple of really great resources on there. The more you know, the less likely you are to fall victim to one of these scams, one of these cyber crimes. From our perspective, there's technology you can put in place to help protect your organization. That's extremely important. User awareness training of making sure everyone on your team is trained. Also really important. We sometimes refer to that as the human firewall. But a lot of smart and affordable things you can do to stay safe online. Okay, and then we're wrapping up. We're just at the wrap-up point right now. For those of you, we host a workshop every single month on a technology topic, and they're all free and open to everybody. So we hope join us when a topic sparks your interest, and please tell your friends. We're also hosting an Earth Day electronics recycling event. So a lot of electronics in general cannot go in regular trash because they contain a lot of harmful chemicals within the materials. Also, you want to make sure your old hard drives are properly disposed of. So we actually fully shred them. We have a truck come on site. They have a giant bin. It's kind of cool to watch. They shred them like you shred paper. No one will get at that data afterwards. So that is on Tuesday, April 21st at 10:30. Actually, you can RSVP with Linda. We just like to know how many people approximately are showing up. You can show up the same day, but we just like to be prepared for the numbers. And you can also arrange to drop off stuff in advance if that time doesn't work.
Absolutely. Reach out to us and we can schedule a time for you to stop into our office anytime during business hours before that event. Or come and see the truck if you want to show up on that day. Because it is, as I said, it is kind of cool to watch.
Yeah. All right, and with that, we're going to wrap up. Again, thank you so much for joining us. My contact information is here. Linda Hansen, also active on LinkedIn, just under Linda Hansen. Her phone extension is 226. And we'd be happy if folks have any questions about security, or if you feel like, I don't know if I have the right security or not, or is there something I should be doing that I don't know. We work with folks on building a roadmap from getting, meet you where you are, get you where you could be. So reach out anytime. If you just have a question about security, cybersecurity, we're happy, or technology in general. We're happy to take care of you.
Reach out. We're always happy to talk tech.
Yeah, and I think we've been seeing that a lot. Linda and I were talking about that earlier. Just folks like, I think we're doing what we should be doing, but I'm not really sure. So that's something we'd be happy to have that conversation with you. And, you know, there's always more you can do. There's no such thing as 100% security, but a few really strong basics, smart and affordable, make a really big difference.
Absolutely. All right.
All right. Well,
don't see any
thank you.
Yet, so.
Yeah, let me click over here. We're happy to take any questions after the fact. Just shoot us an email. And was there I think Ghost Preparer was a new one for you. Anything else stand out on the list?
No, that was a new one for me. I admit, one of those people that, you know, as soon as I possibly can, I file my taxes because I don't want anyone else to get in there and file them ahead of me. You don't want to use my numbers, you know. So, but yeah, there was some interesting stuff in here that I hadn't. The Ghost one I definitely had never heard of before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the more you know, the safer you're going to be online. So, and thank you to Linda and Sarah for pulling together the community. And please join us at Electronics Recycling. Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.